The recording is now active. I'll call the meeting to order. I do have an agenda item to add, which is under new business, ready to read grant discussion, fiscal agency that Aaron Wells wants to talk about. And we will have that at the first part of the meeting, even though it's a new business, because Aaron needs to leave early. So any other additions or suggested deletions from the agenda? None. Okay. Any conflicts, potential conflicts of interest?
Nope.
None. Okay.
Mary Reeser is here in Boardman with me, so that's another attendee.
Oh, thank you.
Great.
And the agenda item you're adding is ready to learn, not ready to read.
Am I the only one that gets those mixed up all the time?
No, we all do.
Wow, you're changing it right online. That is way cool. I just saw it happen.
Okay.
Man, are we slick or what?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
Mark Rose just joined us.
Mark Rose just joined us. Awesome.
Hi, Mark.
Okay, so no conflicts of interest. This is open forum. Does anybody want to comment on something that's not on the agenda already?
Do you want the chat open?
We'll have another chance for open discussion at the end. All right, so we'll start with consent agenda, approving the, well, we don't have written minutes, but we'll approve the agenda, and the audio recording of the last meeting from February is on YouTube. It doesn't get any more accurate than that.
So you're right.
Just because it's recorded doesn't mean we said it.
Deep fakes, we don't know.
Yeah.
You know what? With the new Google AI, we'll never know.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a scary world. All right, so I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll motion to approve. This is Erin.
Aaron, thank you. Any seconds?
Yeah, second.
The second.
Alita.
Okay. And I like to call for a negative vote instead of ayes when we're doing the GoToMeeting. So does anybody objects to the approval of the agenda? None. So that is approved. So we'll start with reports and the financial report first. Turn it over to Brian for that.
Okay, so the news that I have is that Pendleton is paid up for their dues of last year. We're still waiting on Hermiston and Ukiah. So Mark, I don't know if you can comment to us even when you've sent payment or sending payment for last year's membership. And then the new invoices will be going out both paper form and electronically. I have a letter to members that I need to draft to send with for Yana, and she tried it this week, and Perry received it. So we know the system's working, so that's good. Any further financial details I don't have right now because Yana spent the day with her husband at the ER. He needed stitches and it took over 3 hours. So note to everybody, if you go to the ER in Baker City, bring food and a change of clothes with you because it'll take a while.
So we will get some QuickBooks reports and send those out as a follow-up.
Mark said. Mark just said that he'll review the documents and make sure it gets paid. So thanks, Mark.
Okay. Activity report from Brian.
Okay, so last month I was at Umatilla in service and sort of questioned all of the members and staffs that were there for the type of programs that they were looking for support Leo for, as well as what other kind of programming support they can provide collectively so that we can sort of implement some of these requests. So these are the types of programs that were requested or seem to be the most popular, and it would be good for me to know if this is true throughout. I mean, I think children's programs is popular no matter which library we're talking about. Hands-on adult program, outreach and bilingual outreach program, animal program, so any type of program where the presenter brings animals to the libraries. Issue programs such as Social Security or Healthcare Marketplace, technology programs such as coding for kids, cultural talks with authors, artists, choreographers, etc. Tech programs for adults, such as basics of using Library to Go, how they can download a book onto their Kindle or onto their phone. And then the question of buying curriculum for library staff. So any questions or comments regarding that?
Yeah, this is Kathy.
Hi, Kathy.
Hey, wait. I got to get away from my computer.
Okay.
So one of my questions is, how do we have Brian meet with library Leo members that aren't part of Umatilla County to get our ideas?
Invite me out. That's what Aaron did.
But we don't have in-service for all of us.
No. Well, that is something that I think is in my next part of sort of what came up there and what I think worked well about going to that. So I can skip forward. So I guess it's dependent on how the board feels about me going out to do trainings or meetings of some kind, whether it's a GoToMeeting or an in-person.
Because I think this is a wonderful thing, and it generated a lot of ideas, but we want to be careful that it doesn't generate a feeling of the rest of the Leo members being left out of the loop.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm just going to make a note.
Okay, I'm going to unmute my phone now, so I'll go back into the computer. Or I'll mute.
I'm just making a note here.
Just for efficiency's sake, the Umatilla in-service, so everybody was all together. So there's, except for SAGE meetings and our Leo meetings, there's no other gathering of people in the same room. So our next one would be possibly in August. We could send out a wider invitation for that kind of discussion. And maybe have it at Pendleton like we earlier planned to have this one.
Sure. Or at Stanfield, because would love to host us there, and it's a neat little library. So right. I'm open to traveling. So now the next thing that we talked about there was what level of money can be committed, or level of volunteer sort of capacity building are the members able to provide as far as programming support. The answer was, depending on the program, what support they would be willing to give is, specific program, specific to each program that may or may not be offered. So, or may or may not be important to them to be part of. It came up that the old system provided 1 to 2 programs for their cost of membership, so that they were guaranteed programs based on what their membership cost was. And the way it is right now, like, membership cost doesn't have an excess of funds to provide programming, and it seems that to increase the cost to guarantee consortium-wide programs might be something that would make it cost ineffective or cost prohibitive for some of the smaller libraries.
Doesn't sound quite accurate. I think membership fees have never paid for programs, have they? They've always paid for staffing and operations. We've always done programs through grants. Is that anybody else's?
That's my memory for sure. Yeah, grants for the programming.
So,
I mean, it could be a misconception on the part of members. I mean, that was one of the comments that people have made, is that they had a better understanding of what Leo does, that there were lots of staff members that didn't realize what they got, and, you know, the confusion between what Leo was and what Sage was, and so it may just be, you know.
yeah,
So,
that's the misconception that we've been trying to correct with the MOU and that clear representation of the budget and where the dollars go.
Okay.
So it's never been the case that the member fee paid for
fake
programs.
News everywhere.
Yeah.
So, okay. It was suggested to provide a calendar of programs to choose from, that Leo would host this calendar online, and it was suggested that members could add or edit to it. And I think that may be something that would be the members editing the calendar might be something that was problematic. If there was a calendar of possible programming, and members could add the times that would work for them to the calendar, I could see that being workable. But if someone were to log in and say, oh, well, I want the program on May 15th, even though that presenter is pre-scheduled someplace else, and they change it on the calendar, it could cause problems for other members, or could cause potential problems for the presenter. Like, I had somebody that was doing something at Sandfield, and they had it written down on their schedule at the wrong time. They showed up, and Cecily was at softball, and while the presenter had the right date, they just had the wrong time down. And so I think that having it be something that members could independently edit is a potential hazard for programming. But I do think the idea of putting a calendar of programs or possible programs online would be a good thing. It was suggested that I get sent to the Performers Showcase, which is in September and generally at the Salem Library, where they have performers and groups that make them, you know, what it is that they do, all available in one place, where we could find pricing and availability, and then create a master list for our members as to what different types of performers and programming is available. So not necessarily saying that these are definitely going to be Leo programs, but that it would be information that our members could have that would allow them to independently program if they were looking for a specific thing in their area. Sort of like Kathy did with Rinker Buck. They independently programmed him to come and do a presentation, but none of the other libraries within the consortium did. So, you know, it would be a master list that we could have online for members to look at. So it's I'm open to that if the board wants to send me. I
don't know if any other Leo libraries go to that but it would be good if they do to have you piggyback on that. That Salem would be quite a expensive trip. Although you have a Prius, so your gas mileage.
Oh yeah, my mileage is super.
We still need to actually.
My mileage is the same federally cost-wise, but it doesn't cost a lot of money to fill it with gas. And
Right.
I'm really good at finding free places to stay.
Kathy says Oregon Trail is gone and Gillum County is gone. So
Okay.
maybe we can bundle you with some other folks.
Okay. The next thing was to send me to do trainings or create a way for me to do a webinar training. There appeared to be quite a few staff members that didn't know what the cultural trust was and how to get cultural trust funding. It's by far the easiest grant application, depending on the county. Some counties like Umatilla County have more than $500 that they can grant to different organizations. And one of the things that's great about it is you don't have to be a 501c3 to receive those funds. So you don't have to get it through your friends group. You don't have to get it through Leo. You can just do it independently on your own. And so in some respects, if that seems like something the board would like to have me do as a service, like I'm a member of the Cultural Coalition here in Baker, and I have been for at least 4 years. It's a grant that I write. I write 2 of them every year because in Baker we have 2 cycles where we give out money. Some counties only give it out once a year, and so that's when and how you can possibly get more money. So I think that would be a way in which I could also do the outreach like I did at the in-service. I think it needs to be done in a way where we can get the most people possible to attend, or if I travel to do it, to be able to go from one place to the next within the same day. And so.
Okay.
And that's a way that we expand our ability collectively. If it's something that you're looking for funds that only you are going to use, or if it's funds that you are looking to use to help with a consortium-wide grant, would be another way that would be worth it. And then lastly, if we could get libraries to provide their top 3 programs annually, so that it helps me see where and how funding might best be utilized throughout our members. And obviously it could be different in each region what the 3 most popular programs are. However, if they're relatively similar throughout the consortium, it does help to say, oh, we should go for this Ford family, or we should go for this Oregon Community Foundation, or we should go for this NEA grant. Like, based on that sort of feedback, it would help me to understand what programs most widely are attended or most popular throughout.
So you're planning on sending out a survey?
Yes.
Survey Monkey or something?
Oh, what I would do is put it in my letter. It's coming up. Please tell me your top 3 programs. Parrot's shaking his head now.
That's not going to get you any feedback.
Nobody's going to give me information? Oh, man. What if I put it in large capital letters and bold and italics with stars?
You have to make it as easy and painless for them as possible. Some kind of little online survey tool.
Okay.
They'll be more likely to respond to than a letter prompt.
Okay.
Is that agreeable?
Do you all agree? Maybe open up the chat so we can see.
Kathy says it's a good idea. Okay, so let's put a pin in that discussion.
Okay.
And go on to the Ready to Learn portion. So Erin can get on to her other appointment. And
Hey, everybody.
Here's Erin.
So, everybody know about Ready to Learn? I wanted to make sure.
I think so.
Okay, so since nobody said no, okay, since so Ready to Learn used to be, our fiscal agent used to be IMESD, but when LSTA funds went away, they didn't want to be the fiscal agent anymore, and so my friends of the library took over as fiscal agent, but they would like to not be anymore. Not that it's not too much work, but it's just, I think it's just not really what they signed up for, as being friends, since it's supporting so many different libraries rather than just Milton Freewater. And so Jennifer and I were wondering if Leo might take over as fiscal agent for Ready to Learn. We typically take in about, this year we took in like $50,000. I think this coming year maybe 20,000. So it's not a ton of money, but it is something. So I wanted to bring that to the group and see if people would be interested in Leo taking over.
I suggested that Leo take over this, or that we approach Leo to take over it, to Aaron, just because several of the members that are Ready to Learn, several Ready to Learn participants are also Leo members.
Yes. There's I think 21 libraries in Ready to Learn, and I think they're all Leo members.
And where are the funds coming from now?
The funds are coming from the Oregon Community Foundation and Gobi, but we've also been looking into like the Meyer Memorial Trust as well.
So it's fiscal.
Well, if there are administrative fees to cover it, it sounds like a natural.
Right. Well, there currently are not any we don't have any funds to cover administrative fees with our current grant funds, but I think any future ones, we could definitely include something.
Well, we need something to cover the current for the additional labor.
Right. The trouble is we've already received grant money. It's all specified what it's for. So we don't have really anything to cover it with right now.
I guess my question,
What's the
if you've received the funds, how would you need Leo to be the fiscal agent this time around?
What do you mean? I mean, paying invoices, things like that. Any of the reporting to grants, you wouldn't need to worry about. We can handle that.
How many invoices are paid on average per month?
Usually none. But these last couple months, we've been purchasing a lot of things from Amazon. That's most of what we do. So I would say typically going forward, it'd be once a month, we'd be purchasing prizes to go out for the winners each month.
Paying the Amazon bill?
Yes.
And then reconciling the checking account?
That's correct.
And when would the next grant cycle be that we could possibly put in some administrative?
So it would be next year. We have submitted a grant to Gobi, and we have submitted a grant to the Oregon Community Foundation already, and we're waiting to hear back, and we should hear back any moment.
So it would be next fiscal year?
They both, not really. Oregon Community Foundation runs May to May, and Gobi runs like August to August or something. It's strange. Or I'll have to look. I don't have it in front of me, but it's not your typical fiscal year.
I mean, sometimes OCS is open to some changes and say we want to make I can't think of the right word now, I'm sorry, but a small change and take money from this and put it in administrative fees because we've reached out to another group to handle that part. Do you think that would be a possibility?
It might be. I can look into it, but like I said, right now I don't know if they've funded us yet.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, we might be able to. We didn't ask them for very much. We only asked them for $13,000 this year, so I'd have to look at what we can take that out of.
Well, if 50,000, 2% admin fee would just be 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a lot.
So it's a what percent admin fee you're looking for?
I think we usually do
2%.
Okay, because when I had asked about this earlier, I was told 10.
Oh,
That's high.
So
I think we're making
that's
Yeah.
what my concern. That was my concern. Is I was like, I don't know how we could swing 10, but 2, that's definitely a lot easier.
Yeah, and I think.
Well,
Go ahead, Aletha.
I was going to say that you're looking for fiscal administration, not grant administration. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
That's
So,
correct.
Right. So 10% might be the administration, of unrolling a grant program kind of thing, which is a whole different level of labor. So that might be the difference.
And one of the other differences in the research that I've done is that a fiscal agent is basically just a pass-through, whereas a fiscal sponsor is responsible for reporting and handling and administrating funds related to the grant. So for Leo to act as a fiscal agent, we aren't held responsible for how any of our members use the money. They're fully responsible for how they use it, yet there's still time on my part and still time on your part. Even if it's just an hour a month that needs to go towards this on your behalf, like it's still an hour that needs to be paid for somehow. And if it's $1,000, that's such a small amount of relatively sizable grant that does a lot. And I mean, my guess is unless you were having volunteer accounting on your end, like there would need to be some level of funds associated with how you were paying bills or purchasing things associated with the grant that you were doing.
Sure. Yeah, we do. We have a volunteer accountant and a volunteer treasurer, so that is how we've been doing it up until now. But if we can agree on 2%, I think we can definitely work something out. If that's an okay enough number for everybody.
That seems fine. If we're just paying invoices and providing financial reports, that's fine. So we'll.
And Buzzy said as long as it covers our costs, I think.
Yeah. I would think that would.
I mean, as an agent, if we really are truly just passing through the funds, where the majority of my time or Yana's time is going to come when the money first comes in and then when your grant is finished.
Yes.
Versus during the period. So if you're utilizing the Ready to Learn funds for a 3-month period, the first week of that 3 months, we would have time involved, and probably the last week of that 3 months, we would have time involved. And then if it were to be where you were like, oh, we would just want you to hold on to the money and continue to issue it to us throughout, then that's where potentially the cost could go up. But at the Yana's relatively efficient, and everything came in under budget last year. So I would think that if we're going to have additional money allocated to both her work and my work, that it would definitely cover the cost.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds good. And I think, we can do Amazon with, you can set that up to pay by invoice. So I think we could set it up that way. We can figure out those details. I don't want to make this difficult on anybody. I want to make it simple.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I guess the other thing I would double check is make sure that the way in which the organizations work with a fiscal agent or fiscal sponsor is clearly stated. Because I think if they require a fiscal sponsor versus an agent, then it would have to be a higher percentage because there would be more time involved on the bookkeeping side of things.
Okay.
So
I'll look into that.
I know that Crossroads here in Baker City, the Art Center, they work as a fiscal sponsor for some of the groups, and they have an MOU that goes to that group, but they're the ones that are involved in the reporting versus the organization they're giving the funds to. But
Okay.
I personally worked with them as a fiscal agent versus a fiscal sponsor, where they passed the money through to me and I did the reporting on my own.
Okay. All of the grants, Jennifer and I have always done all of the reporting.
Okay.
So I'll check into that a little deeper, but we've always done the reporting. We've never asked we've never asked the friends to do reporting for us.
Perfect.
Okay, so there seems to be a consensus to have Leo be fiscal agent for the Ready to Learn program with a 2% administrative fee. If none object to the proposal, we have unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Okay, no objections, so that would be approved by acclamation.
Thank you, guys. I'm headed back home to Walla Walla. I'll see you guys.
Could you repeat that, Erin?
Oh, I said I'm out of here. I'm headed back home to Walla Walla. I'll see you guys soon.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Erin.
All right. Mm-hmm. Bye.
Bye.
Great. That's a nice role for Leo, I think,
Mm-hmm.
to get the Leo logo out there on Ready to Learn.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to jump back into our agenda order. Did you have anything else on your reports that we...
I just had a note that Cecily had volunteered to create a list of SRP details for Umatilla Library District, and I don't know what SRP stands for.
Summer Reading Program.
Ah, there we go. So.
Okay. All right. Next, we have old business. Just for notation and documentation's sake, a report that the electronic vote on approval of the Leo budget was opened to the Leo board members on March 8th and closed on the 30th, and that was unanimously approved with 7 votes. Next, we have a revision of Leo bylaws, and that is just a small change to the membership segment, which formerly just said there shall be no formal membership, and now it reads Leo board shall have full discretion to consider and admit or reject new organizations. Each organization must agree to the terms of an MOU to initiate and maintain membership.
Okay.
We presented that at the February meeting, sent out an email with this language, and now we need to vote on whether to amend the bylaws with that revision or not. Any discussion?
No, I would move to approve the amendments to the bylaws, the revision.
Okay. Any seconds?
This is Buzzy. I'll second it.
Okay. Been moved and seconded. Does anyone object to that motion? Hearing none, that is approved. Thank you. Okay. New business item number 2, authorization of unallocated funds for matching grants. We switch the display to our budget. So we have projected $48,184 in resources, carryover basically. 34,000 of that is restricted for savings and reserves for other programs that need to be spent on. 8,200 of that is permanently restricted in an endowment, which
renews at the end of this month. The CD, we got the Bank of Eastern Oregon letter about it in the mail this week.
Okay.
So renew.
Yeah, I think we will want to renew that. $14,000 is unallocated, and we did have Oregon, was it Cultural Trust grant come up recently, but we were a bit nervous about just going ahead and committing matching grant funds of this $14,000 without board approval of whether we can do that or not. So we wanted to have the discussion of how much of this $14,000 Brian has the discretion to commit, if any. I would think.
Where do I find that budget, Perry? Where you said we're going to switch the budget, but I can't seem to find it.
Oh,
it's not showing up on your screen?
No.
Okay, let me get a link and paste it to you. See if that will take you there. I just posted it in the...
Okay, thanks.
You see it in the chat, Aletha?
The what?
The chat. It's on the right-hand, possibly the right-hand side of your screen, and you can either open it...
Oh, budget Google. Okay. Well, yeah, but I see a copy of the member data, and I see... Oh, chat. I don't... No. I might not have the right software. I mean, I'm looking at a list of things, a copy of the Leo member data from April 28th, and a copy of Leo membership databases, but I'm not seeing a budget.
Are you seeing the picture of Perry and I?
Nope.
Okay. Maybe you're sharing something different?
Maybe I don't have... Wait a minute. Here, wait. Oh, wait. There, wait. Let's see here, maybe. Go ahead. I'll listen. I'm sure it's all fine. I just wondered why I was lost. Go ahead.
Can everybody else see it?
Libraries of Eastern Oregon, 1037. Yeah, I think I got it. I think I got it now.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, just go ahead, please.
So, does anyone have any reservations about using the full 14,000? Should we retain a portion of cash? We already do have the temporarily restricted.
What was the proposal to use it on?
It had come up for looking into one of the cultural trust grants. That deadline, I think, was April 13th. And no matter what we were asking, it was a one-to-one match. So we needed to be able to show what we had as far as matching funds, whether it was in-kind, cash, or volunteer time. So depending on what I ask for dictates how much money we have to have allocated.
Right, I understand that. But so basically we're trying to decide, what you're asking today is, are we giving Brian the authority when he applies for grants to say how much of that $14,000 he is willing to commit to a grant application? Is that what we're saying today?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, It seems to me that's what we're saying that Leo is for, to go out there and find grants and do stuff. And if he has no authority to use any money, what role is he serving?
Well, we would have to have a lot more meetings, I think, to get that authorization. So I like fewer meetings.
Yeah.
And I'm comfortable with.
Well, and I think if there's anybody.
I heard you.
Oh, me too.
I just wanted to know.
Awesome. I mean, to me, I think that to play devil's advocate is that, you know, if I say, oh, I'm going to commit 100% to this grant, and I'm going to make the same 100% commitment to another grant because I'm filing for two at one time. Sure, the problem is that I've committed money that I don't have if both of them say yes. So it would be in my best interest and your best interest.
Well, I don't think you would do that.
I would hope that I wouldn't do that. But
can't you always decline a grant even if it's awarded? Just say,
sure,
we've committed, we've used our committed funds already, so we can't accept this grant.
And at the same time, too, just because I submit a request doesn't mean
it does not.
We can't hear you, Buzzy.
You can decline a grant, but it's not considered good form.
It's not a very good idea.
It's not a very good idea because
That's right.
You don't know what you're doing.
Sure.
So yeah.
So I think
So what else would this money possibly be used for? I guess is the question I have.
Well,
if you've committed it and it's pending, I don't think you should recommit. I don't think you should commit it again. I mean, it's disingenuous.
Sure.
So what else it could be used?
Fuzzy asked what the money was left over from.
Yeah, I asked what else could it be used for?
Any.
Like if we don't use it as matching, what are the other possibilities that we might need to use it for?
I think we always wanted to be able to leverage grants instead of just spending it. So I think that should be a priority focus.
I would agree. I think that it increases my ability to be successful if we have money that can be used as matching. And so to comment towards Mark's question, the benefit of limiting how much of it I can commit to any one particular grant allows us to have money for the next one. Because once it's committed, if we receive a grant, then we're spending it, and it's not necessarily going to be replenished with new funds.
I think the other possible use of it would be if there's a budget overage that we needed to move some money into that line item, or for a special travel, or something that we hadn't already budgeted for,
such as the performers showcase.
Yeah, that we just wanted to boost.
It is a good question what it's left over from. I mean, if it's left over from something that was supposed to get people to programming or some other purpose, then we ought to continue to think of that purpose when we're writing another grant. If it had a purpose and that purpose has not been fulfilled or addressed, does anybody know?
I don't know.
We still have the allocated funds that were for particular grants. Those are the temporarily restricted. So I think these are
unrestricted funds.
Yeah, we've not spent as much as we'd budgeted in previous budgets.
Like one of the things we did last year is saved lots of money on website registration fees.
Yeah.
We were paying hundreds of dollars, and now we're paying like $20.
I think it's mostly surplus funds that we've gotten a better picture of since we've made our budget tracking changes. I don't know whether this has always been there or whether we've been more frugal in the last couple of years.
Well, when you write a grant, Brian, or when you're thinking about writing a grant, do you always run it by the board or executive committee and say, you know, how's this look, and say they expect matching funds, or do you just go out and try for these things? I mean, some will not even require matching funds. So what's the process?
I think everything that I've looked into recently has required some matching funds for things that provide, you know, 10,000 or more as far as funds go. But for the smaller ones like cultural trust, sure, those don't require any matching funds. But I think for a lot of the things that we're looking at, they're going to require
instructional video about how to.
Yeah. Hello? Crap.
Yeah, are you still there?
Oh, sort of. Yeah, I'm still trying to open this dang budget, and it just started talking to me about how to do it. So
okay.
I killed it, and I thought I killed you guys too, and that's when I said crap. But obviously, I didn't kill you guys. So go on.
Kathy suggests making an item for matching funds. Yeah, we could do that.
I mean, one of the things that I would suggest based on what we have is to break it up into thirds, that there's the limit that I can use without additional approval would be a third of the money at a time.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it seems like it'd be a case-by-case sort of thing.
Sure.
If there's some really hot opportunity out there, and it requires more than a third, or if you don't need a third for something, I just don't. This seems a little arbitrary to me.
When I think it is going to be arbitrary based on each individual grant. So, like the way in which Art Place had been approached, they didn't require matching funds, but they clearly stated that the organizations that were working with other groups or had matching funds were greater chances of receiving the funding. And so the way that Lynn had written it was there was lots of other money that was going to be asked for to go with it. And then in the end, there was no other money asked for to go with it.
Right.
So in that case, sure, it's great. And so in a case like an Art Place grant, if I were to ask the board, like, hey, I'm looking into this particular thing, this is what they're looking, this is how I see budget-wise it could come together, would you like us to use all 14,000, or would you like to restrict it and see if I can find a way to get more in-kind and more volunteer hours allocated? Like, so in those cases, it's a matter of me and Yana calculating how many volunteer hours each member library staff would accumulate towards a matching dollar amount. The current dollar amount per hour is $24.69.
I'm just thinking that I'm just thinking that that you would have a recommendation to make, knowing what it is you were looking for, and that recommendation, if it used a significant portion, you would just run by the board. But rather than arbitrarily dividing it into pieces, I would think that you would just see what's out there, what you're looking for, what might be appropriate, and then make a recommendation based on the information.
Sure.
That would be fine if you had enough time before the grant deadline to get that done.
Yeah, so with the Cultural Trust grant, it was a sort of a 48-hour period of time to put the application together, and so it wasn't realistic to say, well, let's see if everybody gets back to me within the next 24, so that I have 24 hours to then execute it in the way necessary. Like it requires more planning in advance on my part, so that when I come to the board with what the application is. And so one of the things that Perry and I talked about for possible uses, he vetoed. I was like, no. Don't ask for the funds for that.
I don't remember.
It was for subscription services that members, if they want subscription-based services, they need to find funding on their own, that it's not something that the consortium's meant to do, other than the subscriptions that we already get. And for the most part, nobody asked for that in Umatilla.
So, is the consensus that rather than allocating a certain portion of this carryover, for discretionary matching grant, that Brian plans in advance to, with enough time to run the matching grant commitment by the board, you get approval?
What about by an executive committee, just for a reality check? That's halfway between full board analysis and his own discretion, and that could be easily and more quickly done.
I would agree with this, Buzzy. I would agree with that. I don't think we need to get the entire board involved on it.
Yeah.
And would you like that to be the signers? So Perry, Aletha, and Darlene?
Is that our executive board?
That seems reasonable to me.
Would anybody else like to have input on that kind of process? I don't think it needs to be the signers.
It's really just a couple of voices to hear the statement and to think about it and to give advice. And if we think it's a serious issue or a problem issue, then we rethink it and take it to the whole board. But this just gives Brian some cover and some clarity and some advice, and we have some responsibility. So I don't know, Perry, you might want to appoint just a particular committee to fulfill that role, like you and Buzzy and I don't know, Darlene or something.
Please,
you might want to do that.
So
Please, not me. I am
not you.
always keeping
Not
me
you.
I do not need more.
Yeah, but if I make
Okay.
a video on cow tipping, wouldn't you want to be involved in that?
Why don't we just say that the executive board is the officers, which are the four people: myself, vice chair,
That's fine.
secretary Darlene, and treasurer Aletha.
Okay.
Okay.
That way, Brian, you would just make recommendations
Sure.
and know why you would want the matching or not. And then we would think, was it worth a lot of it or a little bit of it or whatever. So, yeah.
Okay. So that seems to be the consensus, to have matching grant commitments run by the executive board, which consists of the officers. Any objections to that? All right. Then that is approved.
Yay.
Okay, anything for discussion? That completes our agenda items. We'll reopen the open comment period. Things not on the agenda. Or anybody have any second thoughts on anything that we already discussed?
No, it was nice to have so many participants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's a good plan, a good way to do it. So.
All right.
This is Kathy. Is there currently any open grant program that's working with this summer, or anything upcoming that I missed hearing about earlier?
Nothing that we talked about. I was going to look at Ford Family because they have open.
But no current programs that you are working on, Brian?
No current programs right now.
Okay. We are here at the Oregon Trail Library District. We're signing up for an online service called Beanstack, and we're going to use it for summer programming, registration, and stuff like that. And they said sometimes consortiums work with them for funding, so that might be something. I know several of us are trying it out this year. So in the future, that might be something that we could look into as a LEO consortium package.
And can you
similar
send
to
me
LEO
info on them?
Pardon me?
Can you send me info on them?
Sure.
I can show you. I'm familiar with that. It looks like a really nice program, and Baker's using something similar, the Wandu Reader for the summer reading program. And
because I know when we dropped doing any genealogy databases that we had as a consortium, that left a big gap for my district. So I personally would like to see LEO look into more consortium level purchases in the future, because that for us is a huge benefit of paying our LEO membership dues. Seeing as how there aren't any programs rolling out right now, I have to justify the membership to my board. And LEO Listens, being part of that consortium, is really easy to justify since it's a success for us. So adding maybe a couple more databases that we can join as a whole would be a good fit for LEO.
yeah, that's a great idea. I should note that
making notes.
The EBSCO consortium that we currently have, we tried to add a member, and the vendor quoted us an additional member cost that was really no cost benefit to that member for joining the consortium as opposed to independently. So they pretty much capped our current consortium. We can drop and replace a member at the same cost, but we can't really expand the EBSCO auto repair database without it not being any benefit to grow the consortium.
So Perry, actually, I was kind of wondering that. Was that us? Or was it somebody else?
Somebody else.
Okay. Because I'm not sure that we got a great deal by doing it either.
Yeah.
So I'm just not sure.
I think the costs have increased to the point, and we've shared that out, that it's not a benefit for the larger members. I think it's probably still a benefit for the smaller ones.
Got it.
Yeah, it's less and less of a great deal. It'll take more negotiation for us to get those good deals, maybe depending on the vendor we're working with. We can always take our business elsewhere. There are competing products in many of these situations.
And actually, regarding EBSCO, have they actually switched to Automate yet? Did any of you notice?
I did. I'm not sure if they switched yet or not.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks to everyone for their time today in preparation for the meeting. No one objects to adjourning. We will adjourn.
No, but Perry, would you stay on for a minute with me so I can find this budget? I'm seeing a lot of stuff, but just for another few minutes.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. So the meeting
Thanks,
is
everybody.
adjourned at 11:02. I will stop recording now. Thank you.
Okay. So what's happening is I see